Our story begins thousands of years before the first written word. Ancient people looked up at the heavens and saw more than just random lights. They saw a complex clockwork that guided their entire world. This video uncovers the traces of prehistoric astronomy that completely redefine humanity's timeline. You will see how our ancestors built a scientific understanding of the cosmos into the very landscape, an insight that reshapes everything we thought we knew about early human intelligence. We will explore how a pattern of dots on a cave wall might be a precise star map, and how a circle of massive stones could predict eclipses. What does it truly mean to be primitive? That primal connection to the sky was a matter of life and death. For a hunter-gatherer, the world was a vast, unpredictable place, yet the heavens offered a rare and beautiful constant. The sun's journey marked the warmth of summer and the bitter cold of winter. The moon cycled through its phases with unwavering regularity. Specific stars would appear on the horizon, signaling the time when caribou would migrate or when certain plants would bear fruit. This was not philosophy, it was practical science. They were reading the sky as a survival manual. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for this early science is a small, weathered piece of bone discovered in France, known as the Blanchard plaque. It is around 30,000 years old, and etched across its surface is a series of notches in a distinct, curving pattern. To the modern eye, it might look like simple decoration. But researchers like Dr. Michael Hoskin have proposed something far more profound. The pattern of marks corresponds perfectly to the changing shape of the moon over its monthly cycle. It appears to be a deliberate record, a tally of time itself. Think about the monumental shift in human consciousness that this simple artifact represents. By tracking the moon, a person could begin to predict the future. They could know that in 14 nights the darkness would be absolute, ideal for a silent hunt. They could anticipate that the rivers might swell with a coming season. This act of recording celestial time transformed humanity from a species that simply reacted to its environment into one that could plan, that could prepare. It was the very dawn of foresight. What other cosmic patterns did they begin to see once they started looking? This foundational skill of observation, born from necessity, was the first step on a journey that would eventually lead to the building of massive stone calendars in the landscape. Deep within the labyrinth of Lascaux, far from the cave's famous animal galleries, lies a hidden shaft with a painting that has perplexed scholars for generations. Here, a dramatic scene unfolds. A man with a bird-like head lies fallen. A large bison appears to charge, and a bird stands perched atop a simple pole. For a long time, this was interpreted as a straightforward, if enigmatic, depiction of a hunting accident. But what if this is not a scene from the earthly realm at all? Some researchers propose this 17,000-year-old artwork is actually a star map, one of humanity's oldest known charts of the heavens. The key lies in the precise arrangement of its characters. The wounded man is thought to correspond to the stars we now call Orion. The charging bison aligns with the constellation we know as Taurus, and that small bird on the pole, positioned perfectly near the bison's shoulder, may represent the sparkling Pleiades cluster, which ancient cultures often saw as a group of small figures or birds. This is not a random collection of symbols. The positions of these celestial bodies in the night sky 17,000 years ago match the spatial relationships in the painting with startling accuracy. This suggests the artist was not merely drawing animals, but was capturing a specific celestial alignment, a moment frozen in time on the cave wall. This interpretation completely transforms the image. It ceases to be a simple story of a hunt and becomes a profound cosmic narrative, a myth where human fate, animal power, and the eternal stars are woven together into a single tapestry. The very fact that these people understood the slow, grand cycle of precession, the way the stars gradually shift their position over millennia, speaks to a depth of astronomical observation we rarely attribute to the so-called Stone Age. This was not primitive doodling. It was a sophisticated language of symbols written in paint and starlight, encoding their understanding of the universe itself. The clues hidden in the dark earth were now pointing toward the sky, and soon this celestial knowledge would break out from the caves and be carved into the open landscape on a truly monumental scale. This celestial knowledge, once painted in the dark of caves, was now being cast in metal. The Nebra Sky Disk is a breathtaking object, a circle of bronze inlaid with gold, crafted over 3,600 years ago in what is now Germany. It is not a vague symbolic ornament. It is a precise and sophisticated instrument, hailed as the oldest known concrete portrait of the night sky. On its surface, we see a cluster of 7 gold dots, almost certainly the Pleiades star cluster, positioned beside a golden crescent moon and a large, radiant full sun. Flanking the edges are 2 golden arcs, which researchers believe mark the sun's traveling points on the horizon between summer and winter solstices. This was not just art, it was a functioning cosmic clock. The true genius of the disk lies in how these elements work together. By observing the position of the moon relative to the Pleiades, a person could determine when to add an extra or intercalary month to the lunar year. This single act synchronized the moon's 29-day cycles with the sun's 365-day journey, creating a lunisolar calendar. Why was this so vital? For an agricultural society, knowing the exact timing of the seasons was everything. It told them precisely when to plant and when to harvest, turning guesswork into a predictable science. This portable observatory meant that the complex motions of the heavens could be held in one's hands, a tool that organized both farming and the ceremonial rhythms of an entire community. The discovery of this disk shattered old assumptions about Central Europe's Bronze Age people. It proved they were not isolated tribes, but were part of a vast network of trade and knowledge. The copper for the bronze likely came from the Alps, the gold from as far away as Cornwall in England. The disk itself is a physical manifesto of a shared cosmological understanding, a concept of an ordered universe that connected distant cultures. This artifact is a tangible link to a moment when humanity's relationship with the cosmos was literally forged in metal, a relationship that would soon inspire structures so large they would become part of the Earth itself. But to truly grasp the scale of this ambition, we must turn to the most iconic stone circle of all. Stonehenge rises from the Salisbury Plain not merely as a temple, but as a monumental machine built to read the sky. Its massive sarsen stones are arranged with a precision that speaks of generations of observation. The central axis aligns perfectly with the summer solstice sunrise and the winter solstice sunset, marking the extreme boundaries of the sun's annual journey. Yet this solar alignment is only the beginning of its genius. The 56 mysterious Aubrey holes that circle the site may hold the key to an even more profound capability, the prediction of eclipses. Researchers like Gerald Hawkins proposed that these holes functioned as a Neolithic computer. The cycle of eclipses repeats in a pattern known as the Saros cycle, a period of approximately 18 years and 11 days. But tracking this cycle over a lifetime is incredibly complex. Hawkins suggested that by moving marker stones between the 56 Aubrey holes in a specific sequence, ancient astronomers could track the much longer 56-year cycle of the major lunar standstill. This is the point every 18.5 years when the moon reaches its most extreme northern and southern rising and setting positions. It is during these periods of extreme movement that eclipses are most likely to occur. This system transformed the static stone circle into a dynamic celestial calculator. The sheer effort behind this engineering feat is staggering. It demonstrates a deep, long-term investment in understanding celestial mechanics, a project that would have required a dedicated and powerful priestly class to manage over centuries. Imagine the social and spiritual authority that came from being able to predict an eclipse. When the sun or moon began to vanish from the sky, it was not a moment of terror for this society, but a moment of validation. The priests who could announce the coming darkness and then command it to depart through their rituals would have wielded power unlike any other. How did this mastery of the sky consolidate power and shape the social hierarchy of Neolithic Britain? The ability to seemingly control the heavens would have solidified their status as essential intermediaries between the people and the cosmos. The stones of Stonehenge stand as silent witnesses to this lost science, a testament to a society that sought not just to worship the sky, but to understand its deepest rhythms. While Stonehenge was a machine for predicting celestial events, another monument was built to capture a single, transformative moment of light. In the rolling green hills of Ireland stands Newgrange, a massive passage tomb constructed over 5,000 years ago. It is an immense circular mound of stone and earth, larger than a football field, with a white quartz facade that gleams in the sunlight. But its true secret lies hidden within a long, narrow passage that leads to a central chamber deep inside the heart of the structure. For most of the year, this inner sanctum is a place of profound and absolute darkness, a silent resting place for the remains of the community's most important individuals. Yet on the morning of the winter solstice, something miraculous occurs. As the sun crests the distant horizon, a single, narrow beam of light pierces through a special opening above the entrance, known as a roof box. This shaft of golden light travels slowly down the passageway, growing wider and brighter until it dramatically floods the central chamber with radiant light for precisely 17 minutes. The effect is breathtaking, an engineered spectacle of rebirth, symbolizing the triumph of light over the deepest darkness of the year. The architectural precision required to achieve this is staggering. Using only stone tools and generations of accumulated knowledge, these Neolithic builders engineered a structure that functions with the reliability of a modern instrument. They had to calculate the exact angle of the sun on the shortest day of the year, and then construct a 60-foot-long passage that would capture its rays at that single, perfect moment. This was not the work of a simple farming village, but of a highly organized, stratified society with a deep, vested interest in the solar cycle. Newgrange was far more than a tomb. It was a cosmological instrument that reaffirmed the community's connection to the cosmic order each and every year. Imagine the psychological impact of witnessing this event. After the long, cold, and fearful nights of deep winter, the community's leaders would gather inside this sacred space. As the sun's light suddenly pierced the darkness, it would have been seen as a divine validation, a promise that the sun would return and life would begin anew. This engineered miracle was a powerful tool, uniting the people under a shared celestial belief and solidifying the authority of those who controlled the ritual. It proved that our ancestors did not just observe the sky, they built their deepest beliefs directly into the landscape, creating a permanent bond between heaven and earth. Long before the great circles of stone rose in Britain, a simpler yet equally profound observatory was taking shape in the heart of Germany. The Goseck Circle is a sprawling, 7,000-year-old monument of earth and wood, a structure of concentric ditches and timber palisades that stands as the world's oldest known solar observatory. Its design is one of elegant, purposeful simplicity. Two opposing gates in the circular fence align with breathtaking precision to the points on the horizon where the sun rises and sets on the winter solstice, with another set of gates marking the summer solstice. When you stand at the center of that circle on the shortest day of the year, you are participating in a ritual of observation that is older than the pyramids of Egypt. The discovery of this site was a revolution for archaeology, providing undeniable proof that Central Europe's early farming communities, the stroked pottery culture, were not just struggling for survival. They were conducting systematic, long-term studies of the sky. This was not a temple in the traditional sense, but a massive, functioning calendar carved directly into the soil. For a society entirely dependent on the land, knowing the exact moment when the days would begin to grow longer again was a matter of life and death. It told them precisely when to prepare the fields for sowing and when to gather the harvest, turning the uncertainty of farming into a predictable, manageable cycle. The Goseck Circle predates Stonehenge by over 2,000 years, a fact that completely shatters our previous timeline for sophisticated astronomy in Europe. It forces us to ask a profound question. How did this deep understanding of celestial patterns begin its journey across the continent? The knowledge encapsulated at Goseck marks a pivotal moment in human history, the point where our relationship with the stars became permanently woven into the fabric of settled agricultural life, a foundation upon which all later civilizations would build. Far out in the Mediterranean Sea, on the sun-scorched islands of Malta, stand the ruins of a culture whose sophistication remains an enigma. The megalithic temples of Mnajdra and Haga Kim are among the oldest free-standing structures on Earth, built over 1,000 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza. Their massive, corbelled stone chambers were not merely shelters, they were precise astronomical instruments carved from limestone. The main axis of the Mnajdra temple complex is oriented so that on the spring and autumn equinoxes, the first rays of the rising sun slice directly through the doorway, illuminating the central corridor with a blade of light. This alignment is no accident, it is a feature repeated across the Maltese temples, a testament to a deep, ingrained knowledge of the solar cycle. Yet these builders looked beyond the sun. Within the thick temple walls, researchers have noted curious porthole-like apertures, stone windows of a sort. It is believed these openings were carefully positioned to frame the rising of specific bright stars, such as Sirius or Vega, during significant times of the year. This suggests a cosmology far more complex than simple solar worship. It was an integrated system that married the sun's predictable journey with the eternal, fixed backdrop of the starry night. Imagine the ceremony. The community gathered in the pre-dawn darkness inside the temple's labyrinthine chambers. As a priest looked through one of these stone windows, they would witness a particular star cresting the horizon, signaling a time for planting or a season for harvest. This was not just observation, it was a form of celestial communication. The temples were the beating heart of a society whose rituals were dictated by the heavens, ceremonies designed to ensure the fertility of the land and the well-being of the entire community. The sheer architectural complexity of these structures, built by a people who left no written records, speaks volumes about their spiritual life. They invested immense collective effort to build permanent homes for their rituals, anchoring their most profound beliefs directly to the cycles of the cosmos. What does this tell us about them? It reveals a culture that saw no separation between the earth and the sky. Their entire world, from the food they grew to the gods they revered, was governed by a celestial order they had mastered. The silent stones of Malta do not whisper of a primitive people, they sing a complex hymn to a star-aligned religion, a testament to a lost civilization that found its meaning written in the heavens. Across the ocean, another civilization had cast its cosmic vision in stone on a truly epic scale. The sunstone of the Aztecs is a colossal, 12-foot-wide disk of basalt, a masterpiece of intricate carving that is far more than a simple calendar. It is a complete cosmogram, a map of the entire universe as the Aztecs understood it, weaving together time, space, and divine history into a single, breathtaking narrative. At its center glowers the face of Tonatiuh, the sun god, demanding the life-giving force of human hearts to sustain his daily journey across the sky. His tongue is a flint knife, a stark symbol of the sacrifice required to keep the cosmos in motion. Surrounding him are the 4 square panels of the Olin symbol, representing the 4 previous worlds or suns that were created and then destroyed by jaguars, wind, fire, and water. This ring of past cataclysms serves as a constant, terrifying reminder that the current world, the 5th sun, was also destined for destruction, its stability maintained only through relentless ritual and correct timing. How did this profound sense of cyclical doom and cosmic duty shape an empire? The answer is written in the stone's complex mathematics. The sunstone masterfully integrates 2 separate calendar systems. The first is the 260-day sacred cycle, used for divination and naming children. The second is the 365-day solar year, governing agriculture and seasonal ceremonies. These 2 cycles would align only once every 52 years, a period known as the calendar round, which was met with a ceremony of supreme importance. During this time, all fires across the empire were extinguished. People would wait in tense silence, fearing that if the sun failed to rise, the world would end, plunging into eternal darkness. When the Pleiades star cluster passed overhead, signaling the renewal of the cycle, a new fire was lit in a prisoner's chest, and the flame was carried to every home, rekindling the world for another 52 years. This intricate celestial timetable dictated everything from the timing of military campaigns to the most important market days, from planting crops to the scheduling of ceremonies. The Aztec state was not just a political entity, it was a cosmic engine, and its expansion was fueled by the need to supply this engine with the ritual offerings demanded by the calendar. The sunstone is a monumental declaration of a culture's belief that their actions on Earth were the only thing preventing the universe from collapsing into chaos. It stands as a testament to a world view where the stars were not distant lights, but active participants in a grand, fragile, and endlessly repeating drama of creation and destruction. While the Aztecs carved their cosmic fears into a single stone disk, another American civilization built its calendar across an entire desert ridge. The Chanquillo complex in Peru stands as a silent, sprawling solar observatory, its 13 stone towers marching along a hilltop like a petrified backbone. Constructed in the 4th century before the Common Era, this site predates the Inca Empire and its famed sun worshipped by more than 1,000 years. From 2 distinct observing points on either side of the ridge, these towers create a precise artificial horizon. As the sun travels its yearly path, it rises and sets directly behind a different tower each day, marking the passage of time with unerring accuracy. On the solstices, the sun dramatically frames the outermost towers, while the equinox sun aligns perfectly with the central gaps. This was not a hidden knowledge for a priestly class alone. The observing points were positioned in open, accessible areas, suggesting this celestial calendar was a public spectacle for the entire community. The linear arrangement of the towers provided a clear, undeniable indicator of the time of year, a solar clock built directly into the landscape. For an agricultural society living in a coastal desert, this precise timing was everything. It told them exactly when to plant their crops in the fertile valleys and when to prepare for the coming dry season. The ability to so publicly and reliably announce these critical dates would have granted immense authority to the leaders who oversaw the observatory. Their power was derived not from force but from their demonstrated connection to the cosmic order. The existence of Chanquillo forces a profound reassessment of early South American civilizations. It proves that a complex scientific understanding of astronomy developed completely independently in the New World, driven by the same universal human needs to track time, manage resources, and find meaning in the heavens. This was not a primitive culture stumbling toward civilization. It was a society of engineers and astronomers who encoded their mastery of the sun into the very bones of the earth. A corroded lump of bronze and wood pulled from a 2,000-year-old shipwreck held a secret that would rewrite the history of science. This is the Antikythera Mechanism, a device so advanced that for decades after its discovery, scholars could not believe it was ancient. It was dismissed as an impossible artifact, a medieval clock that had somehow fallen into the wrong layer of history. But advanced X-ray imaging finally revealed the truth, allowing us to peer inside the corrosion and see the intricate clockwork within. What the scans revealed was breathtaking, a complex system of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears precisely cut by hand. This was not a simple timekeeper. It was a portable cosmos, a mechanical computer designed to predict the movements of the heavens. By turning a hand crank on the side, an operator could advance the mechanism day by day, year by year, and watch as tiny spheres representing the sun, moon, and known planets moved across a dial in perfect harmony with the actual sky. It could show the phases of the moon, predict solar and lunar eclipses years in advance, and even model the irregular orbit of the moon with a subtle wobble known as the lunar anomaly. The engineering sophistication required to achieve this, with gears cut to represent specific mathematical ratios, was not thought to exist for another 1,000 years. This single device proves that a vibrant tradition of high technology flourished in the Hellenistic world, a tradition of genius mechanics and cosmic model-making that was completely lost to history. The mechanism was a philosophical teaching tool, a demonstration of a predictable clockwork universe. It made abstract Greek astronomical theories tangible, something a scholar could hold in their hands. But its existence also raises a haunting question. How much other advanced knowledge went down with that ship, or was lost in the fires of libraries and the collapse of empires? The Antikythera Mechanism stands as a lonely, magnificent survivor, a fragment from a parallel timeline where the scientific revolution might have begun not in the 1600s, but before the Common Era. It is a stark reminder that progress is not a straight line, and that the light of knowledge can be extinguished, leaving only a corroded clue for future generations to decipher. The need to track the moon's rhythm was a global phenomenon, appearing in cultures with no possible contact. Deep in the heart of Africa, along the shores of a lake in what is now the Democratic Republic of Congo, an ancient tool tells a silent story of celestial counting. The Ashango bone is a baboon's fibula, roughly 20,000 years old, covered in a series of carefully carved notches arranged in 3 distinct columns. At first glance, they appear random, but the groupings are deliberate. One column contains all prime numbers between 10 and 20. Another shows a sequence that could be a method of doubling. Many researchers now believe these markings are not just tallies for hunting, but represent a 6-month lunar calendar, a sophisticated tool for tracking the passage of time by the moon's phases. This was mathematics and astronomy, carved into bone by a mind that saw patterns in the night sky and sought to keep a record. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world and thousands of years later, A similar idea was being etched into the earth of Scotland. At the Warrenfield site, archaeologists uncovered a breathtakingly simple yet brilliant system. A sequence of 12 large pits was dug into the ground around 8,000 years before the Common Era. These pits are arranged in a perfect arc, and their sizes appear to mirror the waxing and waning of the moon. It is a monumental public calendar where a marker could be moved from one pit to the next with each new phase, allowing an entire community to visually track the passage of a lunar year. The fact that these two systems from Africa and Scotland emerged independently speaks to a universal human impulse. The moon's influence is undeniable, governing ocean tides, influencing the cycles of many plants and animals, and resonating with the human body itself. By creating a calendar, our ancestors were not just counting days, they were building a framework for their entire society. How did this new ability to measure time reshape their world? It would have allowed for the coordination of communal hunts, the scheduling of seasonal gatherings, and the precise timing of sacred rituals to honor the celestial body that guided them. These first lunar calendars transformed human existence from a series of reactive moments into a structured narrative with a past, a present, and a predictable future. The simple marks on a bone and the pits in the earth are far more than artifacts. They are the very genesis of structured time, the moment humanity began to write its own story within the grand cycles of the cosmos. A king in ancient China faced a terrible dilemma, a looming war with a rival state. Before committing his armies, he needed a sign, a message from the ancestors themselves. So he took a polished piece of ox bone and carefully inscribed his question, "Will the coming 10 days bring disaster?" A diviner then applied a hot bronze pin to the bone, and with a sharp crack, the answer appeared. This was the sacred practice of oracle bone divination, the very foundation of the Shang dynasty's power. These fragments of bone and shell, etched with the earliest form of Chinese writing, are far more than historical curiosities. They are the world's first celestial logbooks, a direct line to a civilization that saw the sky as a living, breathing text. Among the thousands of inscriptions, we find meticulous records of solar eclipses. One famous bone states plainly, "The sun was eclipsed in the evening. Is it good?" Another notes the appearance of a guest star, what we now call a nova or comet, blazing unexpectedly in the heavens. For the Shang king, these were not mere natural events. A vanishing sun was a dire omen, a sign of ancestral displeasure that could topple a dynasty. A new star was a message, a warning or a blessing that demanded immediate ritual action. The interpretation of these celestial cracks in the sky shaped the most critical decisions of state, from launching military campaigns to scheduling the harvest. The political and spiritual authority of the Shang ruler rested entirely on his unique role as the intermediary between heaven and earth. His ability to correctly read the cosmic signs and perform the necessary sacrifices was what maintained the cosmic order, or the mandate of heaven. This belief system, born from the cracks in oracle bones, would become the philosophical bedrock of Chinese civilization for millennia to come. It reveals a universe in constant, meaningful dialogue, where human fate was written not just on bone, but in the very stars. The open ocean presented a challenge of unimaginable scale, a trackless blue desert under an infinite sky. Yet for the Polynesian voyagers, this vastness was not empty. It was a mapped and knowable world, its highways written in the stars. Their vessel was the star compass, not a physical tool but a sophisticated mental model of the heavens, a celestial grid memorized to perfection. At its core were the cardinal points, each defined not by a magnetic pole but by the unwavering rising and setting positions of key stars. The place where the brilliant Sirius rose marked one direction, while the setting of Antares marked its opposite. Between these fixed points, they mapped the entire horizon with hundreds of other stars, creating a 32-point directional system that lived entirely within the mind of the navigator. This was an oral tradition of astronomy, a living science passed from elder to apprentice through chance and intense practical training, a chain of knowledge unbroken for generations. How could such a system guide a canoe across thousands of miles of open water? The navigator would lie in the canoe, feeling its motion, and continuously track their position by observing which stars were rising directly ahead and which were setting behind them. As the Earth turned through the night, the star compass would rotate around them, a constant, reliable guide. They were not sailing toward a single star, but holding a course within a moving celestial sphere. This profound knowledge was fused with a deep reading of the natural world. They learned to interpret the subtle patterns of ocean swells, feeling how they reflected off distant islands. They watched the flight paths of certain seabirds, knowing they would return to land at dusk. This was a holistic environmental science, where every wave, cloud, and bird became a data point in a grand navigational calculation. This celestial knowledge empowered the greatest human migration in history, a deliberate expansion across 10 million square miles of ocean. They were not lost explorers blown off course by chance winds. They were intentional colonists, setting sail into the unknown with the absolute confidence that their science would lead them to new islands, and that their memory of the stars would guide them safely home. The Polynesian star compass stands as a monumental refutation of the idea that scientific advancement requires a written language. It proves that the most sophisticated tools can be those forged in the human mind, a testament to our innate capacity to find direction in the cosmos. This long-term celestial wisdom is echoed in the world's oldest continuous living culture, where the sky is not a distant void but a vibrant, living narrative. For Aboriginal Australians, whose connection to the land spans an incredible 65,000 years, the stars are ancestral beings, their stories etched into the very fabric of the night. This is not astronomy as a separate science, but as an inseparable thread in the tapestry of Dreamtime, a cosmology where every celestial body holds deep cultural and environmental meaning. Their constellations are often not drawn from the bright stars, but from the dark spaces between them. One of the most profound examples is the emu in the sky. This immense figure is not made of points of light, but from the dark dust lanes that streak across the bright band of the Milky Way. Its orientation changes throughout the year, and this shift is a precise ecological calendar. When the emu appears to be standing high in the sky, it is the season for the animals to be running. But when its shape stretches horizontally along the horizon, it is seen as a sitting emu, its body full of eggs, signaling to the people that it is the perfect time to venture out and collect this precious food source. This is celestial knowledge in direct, sustainable dialogue with the environment. The depth of this observation is staggering. Oral histories from multiple groups accurately describe the variable brightness of the red giant star Betelgeuse, noting how it changes over long periods. They also preserved the memory of a great fiery event that created a specific lake, a story later confirmed by geologists to be the description of the Henbury meteorite craters, formed thousands of years ago. This is not myth in the sense of fiction. It is a complex, tested, and verified body of knowledge passed down through countless generations. How does this perspective reshape our modern view of sustainability? It presents a model where human life is fully integrated with the rhythms of the earth and sky, a system of knowledge built on profound observation and a reciprocal relationship with nature. The Aboriginal sky is a living library, a testament to a culture that did not see itself as mastering the environment, but as an intrinsic part of its story, learning its lessons from the stars for millennia. The sheer number of stones is almost beyond comprehension. At Carnac in Brittany, thousands of standing stones form long, parallel rows that march across the landscape for miles, a silent army frozen in time. While their ultimate meaning is still debated, one compelling theory paints them as a colossal calendar, a lunar observatory built on a scale unmatched anywhere in the world. The key to this idea lies in the specific orientations of the stone rows. Certain alignments do not point toward the sun, but instead correspond to the extreme rising and setting points of the moon during its complex 18-and-a-half-year cycle, known as the major lunar standstill. This was not about marking a single day, but about tracking a rhythm that unfolds over a human lifetime. To predict a lunar eclipse, you must first understand this long dance of the moon, and the Carnac alignments may have been the tool that made such long-term prediction possible. The effort behind this project is staggering to consider. Erecting a single multi-ton men here required the coordinated labor of an entire community. To place thousands of them in precise rows over generations speaks of a society with a powerful, unifying vision. This was not a project conceived and completed in a single lifetime. It was a centuries-long investment, a grand endeavor to literally set their understanding of cosmic time in stone. What kind of social structure could sustain such an effort? It implies a deeply stratified society, likely led by a priestly class of astronomer keepers who held the knowledge of the celestial cycles. Their authority would have been rooted in this ability to read the sky, to announce the turning of the great lunar year, and perhaps to foretell the moments when the Earth's shadow would slowly consume the moon. The alignments are a monumental puzzle, a testament to a people who saw their place in the universe not as fleeting, but as part of a grand, eternal cycle they could map upon the Earth itself. Deep within the lush jungles of Mesoamerica, the Maya built a civilization whose very heartbeat was synchronized with the cosmos. Their cities were not just political centers, but grand celestial computers, their architecture engineered to capture the light of the sun at precise moments. These were the E-group complexes, foundational structures found across the Maya world. Typically, an E-group consisted of a long, rectangular platform on the west side of a plaza, facing three smaller structures arranged along the eastern side. This simple, brilliant design functioned as a massive solar observatory. From the western platform, a priest astronomer would watch the sun rise on the equinoxes directly over the central eastern temple. On the solstices, the sun would align with the outer temples, marking the sun's northern and southern extremes in its yearly journey. This was more than marking time for planting. It was the calibration of a cosmic engine that powered their entire society. This profound solar knowledge was woven into an even more complex understanding of the planets, particularly Venus. The Maya tracked the planet's appearances with breathtaking accuracy, calculating its synodic period, the time it takes to return to the same point in the sky, as 584 days, a figure remarkably close to the modern calculation. They saw Venus not as a peaceful morning star, but as the fearsome god Cuculcan, the feathered serpent, whose movements were interpreted as direct omens for warfare. The heliacal rising of Venus, when it becomes visible again after a period of being lost in the sun's glare, was a moment of immense portent. The Dresden Codex, one of the few surviving Maya books, contains detailed Venus tables that allowed priests to predict these appearances years in advance. This celestial foresight was weaponized. A ruler planning an attack on a rival city-state would consult these astronomical tables. Launching a military campaign on the day of Venus' reappearance was believed to channel the violent power of Cuculcan, ensuring divine favor and intimidating their enemies. The sky itself became a battlefield. and the king's authority was solidified by his ability to command this cosmic timing. How did these celestial predictions influence the rise and fall of their city-states? A ruler who could accurately forecast the movements of the gods and successfully wage war during these potent windows would be seen as a true intermediary with the divine, attracting allies and consolidating power. Conversely, a failed campaign launched under an auspicious sign could shatter that divine mandate, leading to political instability and decline. This fusion of precise astronomy, state religion, and military strategy created a self-reinforcing cycle of power, where control over the calendar meant control over human destiny. Their famous long count calendar, which measured vast cycles of time, framed this entire system within a grand, cosmic narrative of creation and destruction. The Maya did not just watch the sky. They lived in a universe where the motions of planets dictated the fate of kings and the destiny of empires, all calculated from stone platforms rising from the jungle floor. High on a misty mountain ridge, the Intihuatana stone stands as the silent, beating heart of Machu Picchu. This exquisitely carved granite pillar, its name meaning the hitching post of the sun, was far more than a simple sundial. It was the cosmic anchor for an entire empire, a tool of profound spiritual power. On the 2 days of the year when day and night are of equal length, the equinoxes, a celestial miracle would occur. The sun would position itself directly overhead the pillar, and for a fleeting moment the stone would cast no shadow at all. In the eyes of the Inca, this was the moment they had successfully tied the sun to the earth, preventing its journey farther north and ensuring its vital return. The ceremony performed here was not merely symbolic, it was a necessary act of cosmic maintenance, a ritual to guarantee the continuation of the seasons and the very cycle of life itself. Every angle and facet of the stone was carved with intention, its precise alignments pointing toward the solstice sunrises and the cyclical path of the Southern Cross constellation. This was astronomy fused with statecraft. The Inca emperor, the Sapa Inca, would have been the central figure in these rites. His ability to correctly perform the ceremony that secured the sun's path was what legitimized his divine rule, and by extension, the stability of the entire agricultural empire. The stone served as the ultimate intermediary between the human world and the celestial realm. How did this single piece of granite command such authority? It physically centered the universe for the Inca, transforming an abstract astronomical event into a tangible, controllable phenomenon. The empire did not just observe the cosmos, it believed it held the responsibility and the power to keep it running. Deep beneath the sun-baked earth of the Valley of the Kings, a different kind of sky awaits. Here, in the eternal silence of the tomb of Senenmut, the ceiling is a sprawling map of the heavens, a permanent night painted in brilliant blue and gold. This is not mere decoration, it is a detailed celestial guidebook for the soul. The familiar shapes of our constellations are reimagined through a divine lens. The stars of Orion become the god Osiris, and the brilliant star Sirius is his sister wife, the goddess Isis. Scattered across this cosmic diagram are the Decan stars, 36 groups that rose consecutively throughout the year, each marking a new week and providing a precise clock for the deepest hours of the night. For the Egyptians, this star chart was a literal roadmap. They believed the soul of the departed pharaoh would undertake a perilous journey, ultimately joining the circumpolar stars, the ones that never set below the horizon. These were known as the imperishable ones, the eternal, undying gods, and the pharaoh's ultimate destiny was to become one of them. This profound belief in a starry afterlife dictated everything, from the orientation of the tomb itself to the rituals performed within. How did this cosmic faith manifest in the world of the living? It demanded an unparalleled precision in their architecture. The Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned to true north with an accuracy of 1/15 of a single degree, an engineering feat that seems almost impossible for its time. This was not just a display of power, it was a physical act of connecting the earthly realm with the eternal, unchanging order of the cosmos. Their entire society was synchronized to this celestial clock. The annual rising of Sirius just before the dawn heralded the coming flood of the Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt. This single astronomical event was so critical it led them to develop one of history's first solar calendars of 365 days, a system that organized their agriculture, their religious festivals, and their very conception of time. The painted stars on the tomb ceiling were far more than a hopeful symbol. They were the culmination of a civilization's quest for order, a belief that by mirroring the perfect, predictable motions of the heavens in their art, their buildings, and their daily lives, they could secure a place in that eternal rhythm forever. That same impulse to track the stars seen across the globe found its most systematic expression in the hands of Babylonian scholars. In the royal libraries of ancient Mesopotamia, scribes pressed their styluses into wet clay, creating a series of tablets that would become one of the most important documents in the history of science. The Venus tablets of Amasajuka, dating from the reign of King Amasajuka around 1700 years before the Common Era, record the movements of the planet Venus with painstaking detail over a 21-year period. They note its first and last visibility as a morning star, its disappearance behind the sun, and its reappearance as an evening star. This was not casual observation. It was a rigorous, long-term scientific project, the first known systematic record of a planet's complex dance. For the Babylonians, however, this data was not collected for pure science. Every appearance and disappearance of Venus was an omen, a direct message from the goddess Ishtar. The tablets themselves are filled with these celestial prophecies. If Venus disappears in the east on the 25th of the month of Tammuz, there will be devastation in the land. The king will die, but his son will take the throne. The behavior of the planet was believed to foretell everything from the fate of the monarchy to the success of the harvest, from the outbreak of conflict to periods of peace. This belief system drove the need for extreme precision. To correctly interpret the divine will, the scholars had to know exactly when Venus would appear or vanish. This practical, urgent need for accurate prediction forced them to look for patterns in the chaos, to move beyond seeing the planet as a purely capricious deity. They began to notice that its cycles were not random but followed a repeating rhythm. Over generations, this practice of recording omens slowly, almost imperceptibly, transformed into the practice of calculating future positions. The planet was evolving in their minds from a fickle god to a predictable celestial body governed by mathematical laws. How did this Babylonian focus on Venus pave the way for scientific astronomy? It established a methodology. It created a culture of meticulous record-keeping and data analysis that would be passed down for centuries. This foundational work, born from divination, provided the raw observational data that Greek astronomers would later use to build their geometric models of the cosmos. The Venus tablets mark the pivotal moment when humanity began to disentangle celestial mechanics from pure mythology, the true birth of planetary science. Carved into the ceiling of a dark temple chamber in Dendera, a single piece of sandstone captures the entire night sky. This is the Dendera Zodiac, a breathtaking bas-relief that is far more than an Egyptian artifact. It is a celestial melting pot, a snapshot of the 1st century before the Common Era when Greek star lore met ancient Egyptian tradition. Here, the familiar figures of the Greco-Roman zodiac circle the heavens. Taurus the bull and Leo the lion stand in stark contrast to the surrounding Egyptian symbols. the decaan stars that for millennia had guided the timing of nightly rituals. This was not a replacement of one system by another, but a fusion, a deliberate and sophisticated blending of two cosmic languages onto one stone canvas. The very presence of the Zodiac within a temple dedicated to the goddess Hathor speaks volumes. It shows that the cosmos remained a sacred text, but now its verses were being translated into a new, hybrid dialect for a changing world. The precision of the carvings is remarkable. Each constellation is meticulously placed, suggesting this was not merely decorative. Priests likely used this sealing map as a ritual tool to determine the correct times for ceremonies dedicated to the gods, and as an educational device for teaching a new, integrated vision of the universe to initiates. What does this unique artifact reveal about the ancient world? The Dendera Zodiac is physical proof of the globalization of knowledge. It shows us that cross-cultural exchange was not just about trade goods, but about the most profound ideas a culture possesses. In an age before rapid communication, the movement of people, ideas, and scholarship under the Hellenistic empires created a shared scientific language, one where Egyptian observational data met Greek conceptual models. This stone ceiling is a testament to a world in conversation with itself, finding common ground not on the earth but in the stars. A locked door to a prehistoric mind, the Phaistos disk is one of archaeology's most captivating enigmas. Discovered on the island of Crete, this fired clay disk from the Minoan civilization is covered in 241 symbols, stamped in a spiral that coils from the outer edge toward the center. We see human figures and walking heads, ships and shields, bees and flowers, all arranged in repeating groups. It is a message from the Bronze Age Aegean, but its language is one we have completely forgotten. Because it was pressed into the clay with seals, not written by hand, it stands as a unique, mass-produced item, suggesting its message was considered vital, something meant to be shared or standardized. For over a century, scholars have tried and failed to decipher its code. Some believe it is a legal document or a list of goods, but a compelling theory suggests it is something far more profound, an astronomical calendar or a sacred hymn to a mother goddess of the stars. The repeating sequences could mark lunar months, with each symbol group representing a specific phase or a ceremony tied to the night sky. The spiral itself might mirror the cyclical nature of time, a journey inward through the rhythms of the year. If this is true, then the disk is not a mundane record, but a portable cosmos, a ritual object that connected the Minoan people to the celestial order. Its unbroken code means we are still staring at a locked vault of knowledge, a silent testament to a sophisticated culture whose understanding of the heavens was stamped in clay and then lost to the ages. What secrets of the ancient Mediterranean sky might we recover if we could only find the key? Galloping across the green hills of southern England for over 3,000 years, the Uffington White Horse is a monumental mystery. This immense figure, created by cutting deep trenches into the hillside and packing them with brilliant white chalk, is not a natural formation but a deliberate act of landscape art on a colossal scale. Its stylized, almost abstract form, with a slender body and disjointed legs, is a perfect match for the horses stamped onto Celtic coins from a later era. Those coins frequently associated the horse with powerful solar deities or a horse goddess like Epona, a symbol of sovereignty, fertility, and the otherworld. This connection strongly suggests the white horse was far more than a tribal emblem. It was likely a sacred symbol of a celestial cult, a permanent tribute to a sun god whose chariot was pulled across the sky by divine steeds. The figure's placement was meticulously chosen, its position on the steep slope making it fully visible from miles away, a gleaming white beacon against the green. It does not exist in isolation. It aligns with the ancient Ridgeway Path and the nearby Iron Age hill fort of Uffington Castle, forming part of an integrated sacred landscape designed for ritual procession and solar observation. The very land itself was a temple, and the horse was its central icon. Just below it lies Dragon Hill, a flat-topped mound where legend says St. George slew the dragon. This Christian myth is almost certainly a later story layered over a much older pagan tradition, perhaps a tale of a sky god conquering a chaotic celestial serpent or dragon, a myth of cosmic order triumphing over chaos. So how did this geoglyph function for the community that built it? Creating and maintaining such a massive figure required the coordinated effort of generations. This shared labor would have forged a powerful collective identity, binding the people to the land and to the celestial powers they believed governed their world. The act of periodically rechalking the figure, a tradition that continues to this day, was a form of communal ritual, a reaffirmation of their covenant with the gods and a renewal of the cosmic order they saw in the heavens. The Uffington White Horse is more than a picture. It is a prayer etched into the earth, a declaration that this community and their beliefs were part of the landscape itself, galloping eternally through time. On the eastern banks of the Mississippi River, a great city once pulsed with life. Cahokia stood as the largest pre-Columbian settlement north of Mexico, a sprawling metropolis of earthen pyramids and bustling plazas where perhaps 20,000 people lived. At the heart of this urban marvel was a structure of profound simplicity and genius, a series of large wooden circles now called woodhenge. These were not stones, but massive cedar posts erected in a wide circle, functioning as a sophisticated solar calendar that organized the entire city. From a central observation post, a priest astronomer would watch the sun rise over the front of the immense Monk's Mound, the city's great temple. On the equinoxes, the sun would align perfectly between two specific posts, framing the temple and signaling the balance of day and night. Other posts marked the solstice sunrises and sunsets, creating a ceremonial and practical timeline for the community. This was the clockwork of a complex society. For Cahokia's farmers, these alignments dictated the critical moments for planting and harvest in the fertile river bottomlands. For the city's rulers and priests, this celestial schedule orchestrated the great public ceremonies that united the population. The ability to announce the turning of the seasons from this wooden circle granted immense spiritual and political authority, transforming astronomical knowledge into social cohesion. How did celestial timekeeping support the rise of this first great city? It provided the predictable rhythm around which everything else could be organized, from trade and agriculture to the rituals that affirmed the cosmic order. The posts of Woodhenge were the pillars of a Mississippian cosmos, proving that the drive to build precise astronomical instruments was a universal human impulse, flourishing independently in the very heart of North America. But sometimes the sky did not follow its predictable rhythms. Without warning, a stranger would appear, a great comet with a brilliant, ethereal tail sweeping across the dome of night. These transient celestial events were unpredictable agents of change, cosmic interlopers that could reshape the course of human history in a single, spectacular pass. One of the most famous is depicted on the Bayeux Tapestry, that epic embroidery telling the story of the Norman conquest of England. There, in the cloth, people point with awe and terror at a star with a fiery tail. This was Halley's Comet, appearing in the spring of 1066. To the Anglo-Saxons, it was a dreadful omen, a sign of divine displeasure and coming doom. For William the Conqueror and his invading forces, it was a heavenly endorsement of his claim to the English throne. The comet's appearance became a powerful piece of propaganda, a celestial signal that legitimized a military campaign that would forever alter the language, culture, and monarchy of England. This was not an isolated incident. The Star of Bethlehem, described in the Gospel of Matthew, has been proposed by astronomers as another such event. It may have been a rare conjunction of bright planets, or perhaps a nova, a new star blazing suddenly into existence. Whatever its true nature, its interpretation as a divine sign announcing the birth of Jesus Christ became a cornerstone of Christian tradition, its legacy echoing for 2 millennia. The flash of a supernova could illuminate a turning point just as dramatically. In the year 1054, a star in the constellation Taurus exploded with such violence that for weeks it was visible even in the daytime. Chinese court astronomers meticulously recorded this guest star, noting its position with awe. Across the ocean, ancestral Puebloan artists in the American Southwest may have captured the very same event in a petroglyph, a hand and a star positioned near a crescent moon, matching the supernova's placement next to the moon in the sky that year. This cosmic cataclysm, which left behind the beautiful Crab Nebula, was witnessed by 2 cultures with no contact, each weaving it into their own understanding of the world. For the Chinese, it was a direct message from the Emperor of Heaven. For the native peoples of the Southwest, it may have been a powerful spirit sign. These sudden cosmic fireworks, visible to every person on the planet, transcended language and culture. They could trigger mass panic, inspire profound religious fervor, or ignite a new wave of scientific inquiry as scholars scrambled to explain the heavens' sudden betrayal of their perfect order. How many revolutions, how many shifts in faith began with a single, inexplicable light in the night sky? The cosmos has never been a passive backdrop. It is, and always has been, an active participant in the grand, unfolding drama of human affairs. From the first notches on a bone to the grandest circles of stone, these traces of prehistoric astronomy reveal a universal human quest to understand our place in the cosmos. These discoveries shatter the old image of our ancestors as primitive. They were pioneering scientists and philosophers, mapping the heavens with an accuracy that still inspires awe. This celestial knowledge was the bedrock of everything that followed. It dictated the rhythm of agriculture, telling communities precisely when to plant and when to reap. It formed the core of religious belief, creating a sacred dialogue between earth and sky. It shaped the very structure of society, granting authority to those who could read the stars and predict the turning of the seasons. This profound connection to the cosmos fueled the greatest explorations, guiding voyagers across trackless oceans and inspiring communities to build monuments that would last for millennia. Our drive to explore the universe is not a modern invention. It is a thread woven through the entire human story, a defining part of who we are. So the next time you find yourself under a clear night sky, take a moment to look up. See it not as a void, but as the same celestial canvas that has guided, inspired, and humbled humanity for thousands of generations. If this journey into our shared cosmic past has sparked your curiosity, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And subscribe to join us as we continue to explore history's greatest mysteries together.